Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to the second Monday review of the season. Saturday, we travelled down to the West Country to Home Park to take on Plymouth Argyle. And unfortunately, from a Gills perspective, it was Ryan Lowe's men that ran out 1-0 winners, courtesy of an 88th minute strike from star man Luke Jeffcott. So, same principle as last week. Going to have a look at the game as a whole. I was not there personally, so when we look at best Pilgrims player, Gills match ratings and Gills man of the match, they are courtesy of Reese Hurd, who was down at the game over the weekend. So let's get straight into the video. Looking at all the reports and what Gills were tweeting out at the time, it seemed that the Gills started the brighter, and we had a couple of chances in the first 15-20 minutes. There was an early opportunity for Verdane Oliver, which was saved well by the home keeper, Michael Cooper. And there was another opportunity for Mustafa Carayel, who looked, from the highlights that I've seen, very bright in the first period. A driving run into the box. Ball eventually broke back to him and he hit a good left-footed shot, I think it was, which again Michael Cooper was in the way of and managed to palm it away for a corner. But all the reports coming out of the Gills fans and the Gills Twitter feed at half-time that we were in the ascendancy, we looked the more likely, and it was probably a case of more of the same second period. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and it really was the game of two halves. We've had this talk plenty of times, haven't we, about Gills and possession and how much ball you need to win football matches. And I'm not a big advocate of having loads of the football, but 26% is simply not enough. That means that Plymouth have had 3/4 of the ball in the second period. They've put us under constant pressure. We've rarely got out, unfortunately. And eventually that pressure has told with Luke Jeffcott's late winner. 13 shots conceded in that second period. And most frustratingly of all, the only one, though, that was on target from a Plymouth point of view is the one that nestled in the bottom corner and ultimately won them the 3 points. Looking at the goal in more detail, it's frustrating from our point of view, isn't it? It's a ball into the box after Reece Bennett, who had come on the hour mark for Ryan Jackson at right back. He gets caught ball watching slightly again for the second week in a row. It happened against Lincoln on the opening day. The ball gets fizzed across our box. Max Amer, I've seen, has taken some criticism from Gills fan. I don't think he's at fault. He's off balance. He gets something on it, clears it to the edge of the box. Carl Dempsey's the wrong side of Jeffcott, so can't make a tackle for fear of giving away a spot kick. So he doesn't make a challenge. Jeffcott then drives into our box. Daniel Phillips, I think, can do more. He's been very good. I've been very impressed with young Phillips over the first few games that I've seen. But he sort of stands on the edge of the area. All he has to do is drop 5 yards into the penalty area. He either stops the shot happening and forces Luke Jeffcott to take a different option, or if the shot does come off, he has a chance of blocking it. But he does nothing. He marks an area, doesn't mark a player. It gives Jeffcott free rein into the 18-yard box. In fairness to the Plymouth man, it's a really good finish into the far corner. But there's a couple of bits that are frustrating from our point of view. But, and I've spoken to Max Amer about this previously on the channel after the end of the 16-17 season when we nearly went down, and he said if you're under the cosh constantly and the ball just keeps coming back into your box, eventually something will give. Your mind becomes tired, your body becomes tired, and then there's more of a chance of making mistakes. Now, I'm not sure he specifically has made a mistake, but there's a couple of bits that we need to tidy up on. And ultimately, it's cost us what would have been a decent draw, considering how much we were under the cosh second period. But we're going to have to get ourselves up, dust ourselves down and start again, because we have to go to Wimbledon on Tuesday. Such is the frenetic pace of the early start of the season. But yeah, a frustrating 1-0 defeat at Home Park. Regarding best opposition player, Reece was really good to send some information regarding the game, and he picked out our former loan man, Jordan Houghton, as the key man for the Pilgrims. Said that especially second half, when everything went through him, he was allowed to get his foot on the ball, he was allowed to get his head up, he was allowed to spray passes and dictate play. And we just didn't get close enough to him, and we let him basically form the pattern of the football match in the second half. And ultimately, the pressure, as I've already mentioned, did tell, and Plymouth won it late on. So yeah, star man for Plymouth Argyle, according to Reece, was midfielder Jordan Houghton. On to Reece's player ratings for the afternoon, and we'll do it in formation order. So Reece went with Jamie Cummins, 6.5, made a couple of decent stops. Back four, he gave Ryan Jackson on his return a 6. Max Amer 7, Jack Tucker 7.5, as already mentioned. We come under a lot of pressure, didn't we, second period, and it seems that that the two centre-backs stood up to it and probably deserved a little bit more than being beat in the last couple of minutes. So yeah, Max Amar 7, Jack Tucker 7.5. Unfortunately, David Tatunda, Reece has only given a 5. So he continues, it seems, to struggle a little bit on his return to League One, having been relegated last season with Bristol Rovers. Further forward, Carl Dempsey a 5, which is very unlike the skipper. Daniel Phillips a 6.5, Stuart O'Keefe 6 before going off with a knock. Mustafa Carriel, who started really brightly, looking at the Twitter feeds and the highlights, he gave a 6. Up front, which tells you all you need to know at the moment, and it's a recurring problem and a recurring theme amongst Gills fans on Twitter. We definitely need reinforcements. Verdane Oliver, last season's top scorer, 5.5. So aside from that early chance, seems he didn't get a lot of the ball or didn't use it well enough when he had it. And John Akindi, back from injury, only a 4 out of 10, which is a bit concerning. In terms of the substitutes, he gave Reece Bennett a 6, Oliver Lee a 5, and Danny Lloyd a 5.5. Just going to add my 2 penneth to that. I'd have started with Danny Lloyd and not John Akindi. I'd have gone with a 4-2-3-1 instead of what looked like a 4-4-2. We need to get someone in the middle of the park to get his foot on the ball, to dictate play, a la Jordan Houghton. And Carl Dempsey's one of the best at that. So maybe we got that slightly wrong. Maybe Steve Evans will look at that. But he obviously thought we'd go with 2 front men to try and, take on their 3 centre-backs. But it didn't work. And yeah, it's a frustrating late defeat. But it's not the end of the world. To put it into a bit of context, as frustrating and as poor as the performance was second half, according to Reece, but we still have to look at the fact that we lost 2.5 weeks of pre-season to COVID. We lost 3 friendlies. We're really struggling with injuries, which is compounding our issues at the moment. It still looks like there's going to be no Ben Reeves, no Alex McDonald and no Robbie McKenzie for Tuesday night's trip to Wimbledon, so we're going to be down to the bare bones again. Ryan Jackson felt his hamstring before coming off on his return, and Stuart O'Keefe took a knock, so I'm imagining there's going to be doubts over them as well ahead of Tuesday. And unfortunately, it was confirmed in the gaffer at the weekend interview on the club website that aside from this young Premier League Lone Star who should be in Monday, Tuesday, it doesn't look like anything else is imminent in the next week, which is a bit concerning considering that will only leave us a week of the transfer window left and we're still going to be very light on numbers. Don't know whether it's going to be a striker, don't know whether it's going to be a left back. Hoping and praying it's going to be a striker to take the burden off of Verdane Oliver and John Akindi. But that is it for match ratings. Let's try and end on a bit of a positive. Gills' man of the match in Saturday's 1-0 defeat in the West Country was once again centre-back Jack Tucker. And Reece was very high in his praise of the young defender, said that second half we come under the cosh. It was pressure from the home side. And that him and German centre-back next to him, Max Amar, stood up to absolutely everything. It could have been a toss-up between the two of them looking at the match ratings. They had the 2 highest ratings, Amar a 7 and Jack Tucker a 7.5. But Reece was swaying towards Jack Tucker, said that he literally didn't put a foot wrong second half. And I'd imagine he certainly felt that Jack Tucker deserved to have earned something from the game. But unfortunately, that's not how football works. But yeah, Jack Tucker, once again, the Gills star man. Right, that is it for this week's Monday review. Thanks to Reece for sending me all his thoughts regarding the proceedings down at Home Park. Unfortunately, it was a defeat for the Gills. But like I've already mentioned, we have to dust ourselves off and get ready for Tuesday night. Myself and Boz and Stocky and the kids will be there on Tuesday. We're going to make the trip to Plough Lane, first trip to their new stadium. Cannot wait to have a look at the facilities. Just hoping that we can get a better result than we have at their old stadium in recent campaigns. Thanks for watching as always. Thanks for subscribing and continuing to check out the channel. We're up to 1,633 subscribers now, which is brilliant. If we can get to 1,650 quickly, that'd be superb. You know where we are. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter and we're on Facebook. Enjoy your Monday. I hope it's not been too stressful if you're at work. I am off this week, which is quite nice. And we'll see you Tuesday night for a Matchday Live. But until then, up the Gills.